So with that, it's my pleasure to invite Swapnil to host the webinar today. So Swapnil, please proceed.
Let me just share my screen first. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, proceed.
Okay, so good afternoon and welcome everyone to the seminar series of the Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering Graduate Student Community, also called as the AME GSC. So this is our leadership team for the academic year 2021. AME GSC has meetings regularly every week at Fridays 4 p.m. and we have these meetings via Zoom. So if anyone interested to join the meetings, you can contact Rachel and Roshan, whose emails have been mentioned over here. You can also find these emails on the Outlook as well. So the timings are flexible. So if in case anyone has issues with the 4 p.m. timing, then we are happy to change it according to your requirements. GSC is also on Engage. So if you want to become a member on Engage, you can scan this QR code and then log in with your OU ID. Then just click join and you can become a part of GSC on Engage in this way as well. GSC also has a Facebook page by the name of OU AME Graduate Student Community. I would like everyone to follow our Facebook page, and also we have our YouTube page by the name of GSC OU. We publish our recorded seminar series on the YouTube channel. So if you guys have to, if anyone is interested to look at our previous seminars, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch the videos over there. These are our upcoming events. On Wednesday, 29th, we have Rebecca Kerfis from ORNL, who will be speaking on polymer support structures in directed energy deposition. And we also have on Thursday, the 7th of October, we have Ogun Sola from Shell, who will be speaking on research experience in industrial sector. So I would like everyone who is here today to please join us for these upcoming events as well. So coming to our today's seminar topic, we have Dr. Zahed Siddique with us. So he is the Associate Dean for Research in the Gallogly College of Engineering at OU, and he is working to increase the research productivity and build collaborations in key research areas. And he has also served as the the director of the School of AME, that is the School of Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering. With that, I would like to give the stage to Dr. Zahed Siddique and share his seminar with us.
Thank you, Swapnil, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining in and taking the time. So I'm going to share my screen as I set things up. Everybody can see the screen?
We can now.
All right, great. So the way I structured the presentation is to give you a kind of a little bit overview of the college. Because I know from your school perspective, you probably have a good idea, but giving a little bit overview from the college perspective, and then looking at some of the components that are in place to enhance research, which includes, right, graduate students, because without graduate students, the research portion really doesn't hold together, because all of you are a critical portion of research, and we need to kind of support graduate student as we try to increase research. So this is an ongoing planning. So every couple of weeks, we look at what's going on, and then things change. So whatever I'm presenting today, in 1 month, some of it might change, but I thought giving an overview at least will tell you what the college is going. And of course, with the college, that means the schools. And if you have any question, feel free to ask the question, even during the presentation. All right. So this is where we are today. All right. There is approximately 143 faculty, and these are excluding instructors. All right. So these include tenure track faculty and rank renewable term faculty. There is about 3,300 bachelor students, about 540, 50 master's student. And then we actually, College of Engineering occupies about 21 buildings across campus. All right. The research grants that were awarded during last year was about 45 million. We are missing 1 month, but that's why it says projected, but we think it will be close to 45 million grants in force or new grants coming in this past year. So hopefully that gives you an idea about what the college is. And you have probably seen most of us. This is from the college leadership side. Dean Clear is the dean of the college. Dean Randa Shihab, she's the senior associate dean. Then you have me, and then you also have Dr. Radhakrishnan as the interim associate dean for the college, looking at corporate partnership. And I'll go into his responsibilities later during the presentation because it directly goes into what the graduate students we taught needs. All right, you have seen all of it. I'm not going to go through all the programs or the research areas. Here are some of the research areas for the different schools, especially where multiple faculties are engaged in the research. All right. So you probably know that there are, and this is more towards the bachelor's, there is, we have aerospace, mechanical, biomedical. There are 13 undergraduate majors that we have in the college. There are several specializations, and some of you probably are in the MS-BS accelerated program, which is a 5-year program. If you are wondering how the undergraduate portion is structured, because some of you haven't gone through the OU bachelor's program. So I thought, just to give an idea about what the programs are at the undergraduate level. All right, so this is kind of a very quick snapshot on how many faculty are there. So you can look at and see that aerospace and mechanical currently has 26, biomedical has 10, and I'm not going to go through all the numbers. Electrical and computers engineering has about 29. And these numbers don't include the new faculty that we hired that came in this year, which is, I believe, 18 or 19 faculty. So this number does not include those faculty members. All right. So this is how the population looks like, the graduate enrollment. So you can see there is an uptick on the master's program. PhD student enrollment has remained relatively constant over the year. All right, and if you look at the uptake, those are for the masters, those mainly comes from some of the very specialized online programs that were started in about last 4 or 5 years, including the data science program. All right, so I'm not going to go through all of them. So as I mentioned, there are new 19 faculty members who came in, and you already met some of them. You know, Dr. Iman is on the Zoom. Dr. Binju is also in the Zoom. Here are some of the others, and if I missed anyone, just letting you know. So from your school, if you're not in aerospace and mechanical, you'll see the new faculty who are already here or who will be coming in the next couple of months for the college. There is a big cohort that came in, and most of them are in the tenure track position. Some of them are in the ranked renewable teaching faculty that were hired. All right, and the reason for hiring both tenure track and ranked renewable teaching faculty is, you know, the ranked renewable teaching faculty always helps the research faculty by teaching additional courses. So, you know, the tenure track faculty gets more time to spend on their research. All right. So this is kind of going to a little bit more on the course side. From a college side, to increase research, one of the things that we looked at and is how to form groups or clusters that go across the college so that group of faculty can work together and actually solve and apply for larger grants and problems. All right. And this boils into or feeds into what the Vice President of Research has planned as their strategy. And I think I'm not sure if I have a slide or not, but I will talk about that in a little bit. So some of the areas, and these are not all set, are looking at aerospace defense. That's one of the areas. And then hydrogen is another area that we are looking into. Then from the health side, cancer is a big one, especially with the OU Health Science Center and the Cancer Institute. That actually becomes one, and that ties really well into the biomedical. Water already has a lot of faculty who work together, so that is a natural one. And then smart connected communities was another one that Dr. Song is actually leading, and Dr. Mistry is also a part of it. These are kind of new research areas. And then of course you have radar that's already very well established in the university. I won't go through all of this. So if you are wondering what can large clusters do, here are some examples. Dr. Amy McGovern received a very competitive AI Institute grant, center grant from NSF, National Science Foundation, which is very prestigious and very large. So when you have clusters, when you have larger group of people working, you can actually go after larger opportunities, which a single faculty member cannot apply. All right. And you also see Dr. Kazempur and Dr. Parthasarathi and Dr. Radhakrishnan received a grant on looking at reducing emissions for compressors. And there are other grants in there also. And these are just some of the sample grants that came in last year. All right. So promoting cross-college collaborations, right? So we are trying to figure out what and how to promote that, right? This gives you an idea. So 2018 to 2000, that's where a lot of the groundwork went in to develop the college strategic plan. In 2020, last year during COVID, we had our new dean come in. So that was the time when we went back and looked at the strategic plan. And this is when the VRP came up with their plan and the OU came up with their lead on plan. So we went back and looked at how everything fits together and if there were changes needed. So now we are in the implementation phase with hiring, enhancing research, enhancing instruction, and enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So in this one, I'm primarily going to cover the research portion a little bit and then open it up to questions. All right, so overall, what is the plan? Well, looking at the OU lead on, OU would like to be one of the top tier public research university. And from College of Engineering, we think we have a very critical role to play. The college has to grow, research has to be enhanced, and of course, we need different pathways for undergraduate students and graduate students to come in, and then enhance instruction and workforce so that we actually have a very robust curriculum to support it. With that, so how many of you have seen the OU lead on plan or have heard about it? If you have, can you just maybe click on your, what do you call it? The thumbs up or something. So at least some of you have seen it, not that many. So if you haven't, if you go to the OU webpage and type in a lead on strategic plan, that takes you to the webpage for the university plan to grow. And that will give you an idea about what those pillars are. And of course, the fifth pillar is, thank you, Emmanuel, for posting the link. The fifth pillar is enhancing research and creative activity. All right. Oh, am I going the right way? Yes. So how do we grow the college, right? We need to grow capacity by hiring world-class faculty, because to grow, you need faculty not only to teach the classes, but also to grow the research portion, right? And so that has to be part of the growing research. And then growing research by focusing on specific areas does not mean that we are going to ignore the rest, but this is where we will focus so that we get a world-class cluster that we can be proud of. All right. And then, of course, we need to grow engineering graduates by recruitment and retention. And this goes both undergraduate and graduate students. And then, of course, maintain instructional excellence, and then provide necessary people and facilities to support the growth. And facilities is a key to the whole thing also. And we are taking a balanced approach because we want to focus on the research, but we want to make sure that if there are any pinch points on teaching loads in any of the schools, we address both of them, because both play a role in developing research and growing the college and the school. All right, so you're probably aware of all these buildings, right, from the facilities side. So if some of you might not know, you are aware of the, one is Carson, two is Felger. Chemical engineering, if you don't know, is in Sarkis, all right? And then in number 3, which is the EL, there is AME and civil engineering that occupies those areas. So this is only on this part of campus. This is where engineering is housed. And then we, of course, have North Campus, and then in the South Campus, there are multiple buildings where engineering faculty do their research and has offices, including the Radar Innovation Lab, where many of the electrical faculties are there. All right. So looking at graduate program, so this is what the plan is and for the college, right? So I showed you there were, in the first slide, we are about 145, 150 faculty. I forgot the number. So in the next 3 to 4 years, the plan is to go to 200 plus faculty. And this does not include instructors. This is tenure track and ranked renewable faculty, teaching faculty. Going to around 500 doctoral students, and then of course trying to appropriately compensate faculty and graduate students to the peer standards. We have, I showed you the 42 million in new grants coming in. That really doesn't mean that the whole money gets spent that year. The idea, the target is to have an expenditure of 40 million per year for the college. Now, why is the research expenditure important? Because if you look, most of the research expenditure is to support graduate students. That's how, when faculty write grants, that's where a majority of the funding goes. All right, so it is very important to have a robust expenditure for the college. And of course, this is looking at the number of awards and all of that. College is moving in the right direction, but we are hoping with the new hires and with the clusters that the number of research awards will increase. All right. So here are the areas, the current areas that are really producing cluster-wise. So radar is, of course, at the top of the list, right? They bring in about 9.6 million, and that was from last year. This year was actually even more. Infrastructure includes water, transportation, energy management. That's the next one. Healthcare is on the third, and healthcare includes medical imaging. Some of the AME faculty has biomechanics that goes in there, and then of course bioengineering fits into that. Data science has a large portion of that, and this is different faculty working on the data science area. Materials is another one, which includes aerospace and mechanical and chemical engineering, and then you can look at the rest. So that's where the current standing of the cluster is. So the question is, what do we do from here, right? This is what the current status is. So one of the things that we looked at saying, okay, what are the actions and goals that we need to focus on? So, formally formulate those research clusters. And the approach that we took, and I think I have several slides later on that I will go very quickly. So coming up with a process on how do we create clusters, right? Of course, input from faculty, input from the directors, that's what's taken into account. And once you have the clusters, how do you make sure those clusters are working together to enhance collaboration? Then support faculty members, enhance the graduate program, which is a big part of it. Establish research communication, because just doing good things is not enough. How do we let others know what are the really great things that are happening? And then, of course, research logistics support needs to be in place. So the approach that we took, we did a lot of benchmarking, all right, and then came up with key performance indicators. And we have done those already. And so at the college level, it's done. Now the schools are coming up with their KPIs based on the college ones. All right. So create clusters. So this is the approach that we took. I think this may be more information that you want, but we had asked college directors and other faculty members to come up with proposals for research clusters, and those were submitted about a year ago. Then there was a committee of faculty from each school who looked at all those proposals and gave comments back to the proposers. And based on that, the clusters were we looked at it and said, all right, here's the ones that probably most likely make sense, and this is where we will focus on. And first wave of cluster hiring were done last year. And for next 2 years, we have additional ones that will be going in. And that's increasing the faculty, number of faculty that I talked about before. So this is trying to map the clusters at this point that the college is focusing on, and that's on the left side. Then on the top, the 4 areas that you see are the vice president of research and partnership, their research verticals. So they have 4 university-wide. One is aerospace, defense, and global security, the future of health, environment, energy, and sustainability, and society, community, and transformation. And the way the VPRP approached it is there were large number of faculties that were involved in each one across the campus, and those committees came up with the focus areas for each one. So based on that, from the college, we looked at what are the areas where we have strength and where we would like to grow. So process, and we thought, there are 5 areas, and there are actually more, but the 5 areas that we like to focus on, at least initially, are manufacturing, sensing systems, medical technologies, infrastructure, and that's adaptive infrastructure, and data science that actually goes across everything. Process monitoring is more on the advanced manufacturing and additive manufacturing. Bioproduction and manufacturing ties to pharmaceuticals. Then sensing, of course, radar is already well established. Quantum sensing is another area that college will focus on with the university. And then we have medical imaging that's well established at OU, and then immunoengineering is another area that feeds into cancer and even diabetes, where OU Health Science Center has a lot of strength. Water is well established. Energy management has two components to it. One is building efficiency, that area, and the other one is power, grid, and management. And like I mentioned, data science goes across all disciplines. So that's looking at the initial clusters that we are looking at. And so this is kind of looking at, what Dr. Radhakrishnan and others are looking at also. And this is how we are engaging everyone to form the clusters and make sure we get proper guidance as we move forward, right? We have faculty involved, we have the schools involved, we have one industry liaison position that will be opening up. And then we also have the board of visitors involved to guide us and give us some guidance on the clusters and how to move forward. All right. And there are, of course, certain items that we will need to focus on later on, and we'll move on that. All right. So this is going to one of the new areas that I think is very relevant to graduate students. We are looking into how to build collaboration with industry, and collaboration not just from the research side, but a partnership where our students, especially the graduate students who are engaged in research, gets hired by industry, and the industry have a more direct path to our students. All right, so that's one of the things that we are looking at, and I think there will be a event next semester where we are trying to bring in a large number of companies to come in, and where we'll have graduate students doing poster fairs and having the opportunity to talk with industry partners so that the relationship builds in, so that it becomes easier to get hired later on. And that plan is still going. And I think that is almost close to some of the last slides. Of course, research communication is good. So we always ask faculty to provide stories that we can highlight, especially impactful stories on research, so we can share it with others. And that comes with the research communication. And then providing support at the college level for faculty doing research, that's another key area that we are looking at. I know as a graduate student that really doesn't matter too much, but for faculty that is one of the items that's very critical. So from graduate program point of view, some of the things we are looking at is, increasing the number of graduates to 300 MS and about 80 PhD students per year. Not in, it's a 5 to 7 year plan, so it's slowly increasing. We have Dominic and Allison, who are working on graduate student hiring and mentoring. Then, of course, online program has expanded. There was a welcome event for college graduate students. I know some of you attended. That was at the beginning of the semester. And there's other things that we are working on to improve, to look at and enhance graduate student life. And I think the GSC can really play a crucial role in that one. Some of the other things that we are looking at is to raise the PhD stipend to at least $25K across the college. And then, of course, set a minimum. At this time, I think the minimum is set at 21600. It is not a hard minimum, but that's what we are going towards. All right. And we are encouraging faculty to include the 25K per year graduate stipend as part of their research grant, so that the GRAs, GTAs get paid sufficiently when they're working on their research and helping in the teaching. I think that was the last slide. I had quite a few slides and I went through them very quickly. So at this time, questions, discussion. I thought I would have much less slides, but at the end, I thought giving a broader perspective would be helpful. Questions? I know I talk fast, so.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion about expanding the test and evaluation coursework to help prepare students for, how to plan and execute tests when working with industrial partners? Because the academic world, as you know, and I'm unfortunately very familiar with, are significantly different.
So that's more goes on. So for a graduate student portion, the way most academic institutions look at it is that becomes part of your research portion. And then, of course, there are always courses that can be offered by specific faculty. So from college level, we haven't looked at it from that perspective, saying how to support experimental research, especially training graduate students or giving the coursework related to experimental research, because it varies from discipline to discipline. Did I answer your question, Phil?
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because what a chemical engineer will do for an experiment could be very different than what a civil engineer might be doing.
Yeah, that's certainly my experience. So.
Yeah. Other questions?
Zahed,
Yeah.
what would be very nice is if you shared your thoughts in terms of how the graduate student community can help you in moving forward on the strategic plan that you have for enhancing the research footprint in the College of Engineering.
So one of the things is, of course, you are working with a faculty, but attending seminars, attending events like the GSC gives you a broader perspective on what others are doing. What would be very helpful is, as you do your research, if you look at other disciplines and see what collaborations can happen, that can really help, because you in turn can go and talk with your faculty and give other fresh ideas that the faculty might not be thinking about, right? Remember, you are working together with the faculty, so that can be a very helpful and powerful force to establish new collaborations for research. And then, of course,
Any other comments, questions, takeaways?
Right.
Dr.
So,
Siddique.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Tanvir.
Yeah, Dr. Siddique, at first, this is a very nice overview about the college. I really appreciate that. We learned a lot of information from there. One thing interests me a lot, that is the cluster you talk about, the future or the current perspective for or across the university. So I'm just curious about like the developing stories about the cluster in different aspects. Like there are 4 or 5 categories, I guess. So I'm curious about like the developing stories that the day by day the clusters are improving and they are gathering more research involvement, more research grants they are getting. So this these developing stories, how graduate students can get these developing stories, and how they can reach this cluster leadership if they have the fresh ideas, as you mentioned in previous questions. So I'm just curious about it.
That's a good question. All right. So, yeah, Tanvir, as you look at the clusters, right? At the very top level, it's the faculty with the common interest in a larger problem that they are working on, right? We are hiring a person who will update all the college websites, especially for the research portion. And that's where we'll have all the information that you're looking for, who is the cluster lead and who are the people and what are the research that's going on in each of the clusters. And that would probably be, once it's up and running, will probably be the first place where I would suggest that graduate student look, even when you are trying to find your advisor, especially if you're looking at a very specific area. But the college website has news, and then from the college, there should be a monthly or a bi-weekly newsletter that goes out, and that has some of the stories based on the cluster and research that we are disseminating to not just graduate students, to outside also. Now, do all of you get that newsletter? That's the question I have, because I know the undergrads get it. Raise of hand. All right, Rodney gets it. All right, maybe that is, yeah. So there are some who gets it. So if you don't, let me talk with Karen. One of the things that happens is if you opt out, and you can actually opt out of the newsletter, if you have opted out, I think we need to figure out how to get you back in, because that's the information that's coming out of college.
All right. Yeah, I really appreciate that you shared the like planning and how this news is spreading. So that's what I was just thinking about, like how we can get this in developing stories from these clusters. So that's very interesting, and also graduate student who wants to know that what kind of research is going on. So I guess that will help everyone.
Thank you, Tanvir. Thank you for the question.
You're welcome, sir.
Hi, Professor Siddique, Roshan here.
Yes, Roshan.
Thank you for discussing all the VPRP plans. It is kind of nice to know what's happening on the other side of things. And so I had my question is probably a simple one. So how are we trying to accommodate research that is coming in, like in terms of new infrastructure or anything like facilities? Because just considering AME, like we have Felger Hall for now, but as our ambitions grow higher, we would want a good research facility as well, which is new and something like that. So could you tell if there's any thought behind it?
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good question, Roshan, because to add faculty or to grow research, you need the facility that goes with it, right? So we are working towards facility that will go with the growth, all right? So from at the university level, there is, a plan for a new facility for the advanced manufacturing. All right, that will be advanced manufacturing plus some of the aerospace related faculty that will go in. So that's one. There is also renovation and other things that college is adding to the existing buildings. All right. Now, is it going to be quick? No, it's probably going to be a little bit slower process, because if you can think about the legacy buildings, there are so many issues that has to be addressed to bring the facilities up to what you'd consider, really good research facilities. So that is one of the other things that I am working on, to figure out where to fit all the new faculty and the graduate students and the research labs to sustain the growth and to make sure that already overloaded facility doesn't get more overloaded, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Dr. Siddique. I mean, it's really nice to know that the university is thinking about it, and hopefully everything gets on track and happens at its pace. But I'm excited about it.
All right, thank you.
I have a question, or
go.
Like a comment. First of all, thanks for the wonderful presentation. It was quite exciting to see the plan, the laid out plan of the college and the university at large. So my question is, are there factors that OU considers for the, should I say, journals that they subscribe to? Because, like, in line with the vision, research is very important. And to do research, you have to know what others have done. You have to read publications from other people. And several times I have observed that there are certain journals I tried to access, and I found that OU doesn't have a link to those journals. So I was not able to download articles from those journals. I had to resort to a friend in Canada who usually helps me through his university access, gets the paper and then sends it to me. So it made me kind of wonder what the factors, or like what the factors are for which journals OU subscribes to or has access to. And I felt to ask if there is an answer to that, because I think it will really be very good if we have more access to more journals and can easily get to read articles and publications and stuff like that in the course of our research.
Yeah. So this is my understanding. All right. So that falls under OU libraries, and I can try to see who would be the appropriate person to answer that question, because I know they have a committee also. But from my side, there are journals, you can't subscribe to all the journals, but for certain journals, if you don't have it, you can always use the interlibrary loan. It does take a couple of days, but they're usually good at sending the articles and everything, most of the time in PDF format, if it's an article. Yeah.
I've used that before, yeah.
Yeah. So even if OU doesn't have it, using the interloan library, I would suggest, using that.
Zahed, I'd like to add to that. What happens here is that the faculty get asked which journals should be removed, put in, and stuff like that. And I don't think many of the faculty respond to it.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that would be really neat is if your office could say, all right, when it goes out to the faculty, we will also send it out to all the graduate students to see what they're interested in. Because a lot of this depends on the feedback from the faculty. And as you know, and I know, the faculty are not very responsive to this sort of stuff.
So that's a great idea. Yes, I'll put that as a note.
Rachel, you had something?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Yeah, so one of the questions I kind of want to ask about is I'm one of the co-chairs for the GSC this semester, and we were trying to branch out to be more of a college-wide kind of organization. Do you have any thoughts or advice on how we can do that? Or?
So Allison and Dominique, they're the ones who are trying to help recruit, and actually one of them is working on recruitment, one is looking at existing students and how, what is needed for training and all of that. Getting involved with both of them, all right, to give them, so that the communication is there, right? Because from the college side, we will be hosting some events and all of that, and we can always use help. And of course, why have the same event twice, right? Once, because we can have the event even a larger. So I think there are a lot of opportunities to do that. And of course, Bethany, who is in the office, right? Who knows everything about GSC, because she was in aerospace and mechanical before. So she would be a good resource if you have questions on how to be part of the college. And we actually see you as one of the larger organizations in the college for graduate students. GSC is the most well-organized one.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for being one of the co-chairs.
I guess other question, just kind of like all of this is fantastic for the graduate students, but do you have any other ideas on how to improve graduate student life in general on campus?
Oh, there are so many things we can do, right? Stipend and all of that is part of it, right? Especially during COVID and even now, right? Feeling part of a community, right? That's one of the things that's missing for graduate students, at least, part of it, right? Meeting once a week like this is a great start, but how do you take it to the next level so that graduate students feel that they belong, at the college level, at the school level, that's one of the keys. And I think that actually changes the perspective of a graduate student, because or else you're always thinking, all right, I go to my lab, I do research. No, but there's so much more that's part of the graduate student life. To give you an idea, when I was doing my graduate studies, right, we had 4 faculty members, including Farooq and Janet. So if you don't know, Farooq was my first graduate advisor. All right, so we had 4 faculty members, and there were about 25 graduate students, Farooq, together.
We started with 25 and then went backwards. We reduced it consciously to 20.
20, yeah. So all of us, had, knew each other and, you know, belonged as a lab, a larger lab, as a community, right? And that really helps with research because you can ask questions. It helps in training because the senior students can help train the younger students because sometimes faculty is a little bit busy. And then, of course, you have the social events and social interactions. So hopefully we are hoping that with the cluster, right, that can be, that can be replicated, in a larger, because now you'll have multiple faculty working together, and then the graduate students hopefully will come together and will have a more sense of belonging.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
See, Zahed, I'd like to point out something. See, the way it worked at Georgia Tech was the faculty at the top were interested in making it happen, and then the students took it on. What I see at OU is to make something like this happen, there has to be an outreach from the faculty at the top. That means at the college level,
yep,
to the graduate students, so that something happens. It is not leaving everything up to the graduate students saying you contact so and so, you contact so and so, you contact so and so, because the value and the culture stems from the top. And so the GSC certainly is a replication of what we did at Georgia Tech. And so I'd suggest that you may like to think in terms of how the benefit that you got out of the laboratory at Georgia Tech could be expanded at the college level out here, because I think that'll really help considerably.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of in the back of my mind, how to do that. Now, going back to what Rachel, you asked, one of the things would be that I think would be great is when there are events and things like that, sometimes faculty forgets, but participation from graduate students would be great, right? Things like, poster fairs and other places, right? Sometimes we don't get enough participants, right? And that's where, I know it adds time to your research, at times to other things, but graduate student participating, that I think encourages others to participate and makes the environment, and everything more successful. All right.
So I like the idea of Bethany being in your office, and perhaps one of the things that would be neat is if Bethany and you could join us on a Friday at a graduate student leadership meeting, and we could talk about some of the small things that could be done together to in the next semester or so to move things forward, because I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, and I would actually suggest not just Bethany and me, but Allison and Dominique.
Okay, so that would be neat,
because they're the ones who are organizing some of the events, right?
So,
and
we meet on Fridays at 4, so I'll send you an email to see what day you're available, and then we can set it up.
All right, that sounds good. All right, I know it's 1 o'clock, so are there any other questions?
Yeah, can I throw out a quick question?
Sure, Rodney.
So a couple weeks ago, Professor Dirk Schaefer had a seminar at the GSC, and he talked about Education 4.0 and treating education as a cyber-physical social system. And I was wondering your thoughts on that, and if you see the GCOE treating education as an evolving type of organism, or whatever you want to call it.
So are you talking about, so yes, because education is always evolving, right? Especially with the COVID-19 coming in play, it has shown, or it has pushed faculty and everyone out of their comfort zone quite a bit. All right, so I think it's not just the college. I think different faculties are thinking about it already. So I think changes will happen soon, right? And if you look at that, some of the at the graduate level, some of the master's program, right, that are, even though they're called online, there are some of the ones that have hybrid already in place, right? So it might not be all the way to what Dirk Schaefer was talking about, but it's somewhere in that spectrum.
Thanks.
Do we have any other questions for Dr. Siddique?
All right. So before I sign off, I want to thank everyone for attending and listening to me. If you have questions or anything, you can email me and I'll try to answer.
So certainly closing statements. Thank our speaker.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Siddique, for giving us such a good presentation, and that was really good information for all of us. I hope everyone else who is here will join us for the further events which were shown previously today. Hope everyone has a good day and see you in the next events.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Siddique.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks, Zahed, very much. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks.